Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to the very first episode of the new season of I Would Agree. Um, Thanks everyone for being patient during the break. We've been away for a few weeks. We had Easter, we had a few other bits and pieces going on, but we're very much back now. It might not be quite as frequent. Just to address the white elephant in the room, I've kind of left my full time position at MOJO-CX. No bad terms. It's all good. It's all good. I wanted the chance to run my own business, and the guys being kind enough to leave the door open for me and let me do that. I'm still very much attached to the Mojo guys and helping them out where I can. And I have my own business, which I'm not going to use this to plug it, but if you want to have a look at what we do, feel free to have a look at my LinkedIn profile and see what I'm doing now. Be good to hear from some people. If you haven't spoken to me since I've moved the job, be good to touch base. And yeah, it's been a moment. So we've come away from doing the live shows. One, I don't think that we're quite getting the traction for the type of content that it is. I don't think we were quite getting the interactivity that we'd like to have. Um, I've seen Martin Teasdale doing really well. Martin, Mr. T, you're doing extremely well. So if you're watching this, fantastic, well done for you. And I think that's exactly the right sort of content. This is a little bit less interactive, and therefore we've moved it offline, so we can do a bit of post edit and interject things where we need to. So let's see what we can do with this one. And this week's guest, the very first one back, it's the second time on the show. Welcome back, Marianne, with us.
Thank you, Paul. And I'm going to be like you. Anyone who needs any marketing, go and speak to Paul.
Fantastic to have you back on the show, Marianne. It's been probably 6 or 9 months, maybe a little bit longer since we had you on the show the first time. I think you were kind
Yeah.
of in the very early throes of setting up the Verity Centre, and we've stayed in touch as that's grown. You've had a very bumpy path with that startup, and some I guess with any business, much like mine, it's like two steps forward, one step back sometimes. But you're growing. You're finally on the path now, and I can see you've got some really good stuff coming up ahead. Do you want to kind of give us some of the trials and tribulations that's happened over the last 6 months? You can do the edited version; it's fine. Don't name names, but you've had some exciting stuff happen.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, the last from about October onwards has been kind of up and down. From September till August time, at that time was absolutely great and on a great trajectory. Um, but I think the marketplace is a challenging one, and you have to kind of tough it out and try and get through to the best of your ability and really kind of push out there. You know, why we set it up, what we're about, and, what differentiates ourselves. Because the challenge has to be is there's an awful lot of companies after the same type of business. Now, if they're small to medium and doing what we're doing, that is absolutely fair. But what the challenge lies around is you've got a lot of the big players out in the BPO going for tiny things.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I know someone, not mentioning any names, who's actually got, a few thousand seats and they're going after a three-seater at the moment. And that's quite astonishing. So, yeah, so from about October, it's been a bit up and down, won a few things and last minute they went offshore. And then, of course, in the middle of all of this, trying to do all this business development, we had the drop the cancer thing, which was not a great thing at all. But you know me, nothing kind of stops. And what was it? A week and a half after I had the first operation, I came to see you. Was it in the exhibition in
Yeah,
London? Was absolutely shattered after that for a couple of days,
believe
but
you
it was
can.
worth every
I'm
moment.
pleased we were able to provide bag storage. At least that was helpful.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, that was absolutely perfect. So I didn't have to wander around the place carrying my bag. So, no, no, thank you. Yeah, challenging times, but, you know, I'm a sort of person who just kind of goes, right, now you need to get on with it and you need to do what you need to do. And, our biggest thing is we've now, I think, have grown quite a nice developing brand in the marketplace. We are about premium service and high value and absolutely high quality. And it's about getting all that. So our biggest challenge that we have is business development, being completely and utterly honest, because if you talk to us, then you want to do stuff with us. I won a tiny bit of work the other day. It took me about 1 week to win it. And I did the conversation and they actually went yes at the other end of the call. It's kind
Yeah.
of the other stuff that
Yeah.
is more challenging,
Yeah.
stuff that gets put off or long-winded.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, if you come and do stuff with us, then you'll think we're absolutely amazing and you'll understand why we say we're positively different, because it's
Yeah.
very clear in the testimonial for the clients we have of what they think of us and how excellent our quality is. But it's that more striving for the continuous of development, but it's also very much about the relationship. And I think one of the things is that we are extremely knowledgeable and have extremely good experience to be able to offer. So yeah, it's up and down and we're fighting through it. So we'll see
I
where we
mean,
get to.
to touch back on the cancer situation, Marianne. Honestly, your story is inspirational to a lot of people. And if you haven't heard Marianne's story, like I've witnessed it kind of firsthand. And Marianne's just worked all the way through treatment, and we're out the other side of things, and fingers crossed for the future and stuff. But like you've stayed positive through the whole thing despite everything that's going on. I've seen you negotiating with clients in the thick of it all. So, anybody who's watching this show, take that as inspiration. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. And I have told Marianne to take a step back and relax sometimes because you can push yourself too hard. But she doesn't seem to know the meaning of that phrase, so she carries on going. Um, so that I mean that has been inspirational to kind of watch you doing that. How have you felt going through that process? I mean, you kept it like you kept a fairly high profile during it, which a lot of people don't. Like, how are you coping with the outcomes of things, and how's it going?
No, that's all really good. I'm really quite pragmatic on things, and that you know if something comes in front of you, then you need to face it, and you need to face it in a positive way. And one of the main reasons that I talked quite a lot about it on LinkedIn was what I wanted to do was, even if I could help a person, and which I know I did because a couple of people contacted me who did go and be tested, which is absolutely brilliant and exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to take the stigma out of, it's amazing that people won't mention the word cancer to you.
Yeah.
There are people who are very supportive and are absolutely great. There are other people who actually avoid talking to you. And, you know, you have a look at it, and I look at it, and they may feel the fact is, cancer is an upsetting thing to talk about. But can I promise you, for the person who's got it, it's not great. So having someone not talk to them or, not want to
Avoid.
mention it, I appreciate they may feel uncomfortable and, they don't like the subject. But for the person who's got it, then actually the greatest thing to do is be able just to be open about it.
Yeah, do you know what? I think probably the thought of the conversation is more uncomfortable than the actual conversation, right? So, my mum went through cancer treatment. God, it was a couple of years ago now. Just doesn't feel that long ago, but it was a couple of years ago. And she's in her mid-70s, right? And she's come out the other side of it. She's come out fighting. She's fit as a lot. She's back to her. She'll be watching this shortly, I've no doubt. She'll be watching this and tell me what she thinks of it in no uncertain
Oh,
terms.
big up to your
Um,
mum.
she like I always use my mum as a test bed for how good an episode's going to be, because if she likes it, it always goes down well. If she hates it, it gets very few views. More like I always bow to my mum. She knows what's best for me, bless her. But came out the other side
Good.
absolutely fighting. back to her usual cantankerous self. And but to the same point, like, she needed someone to talk to about it. She needed to get it off her chest. Whether she appreciates that or not, she might do now. Um, but, you know, very much that. Like, I mean, yeah, I think everybody worries about saying the wrong things. I think that's probably more what it is rather than trying not to talk about. They don't wanna bring things up that's gonna upset you. But actually, to your point, you need to get it off your chest and you need to talk to the right people about it. So don't try and avoid those conversations.
It's not that you want to talk about it loads, because the thing is I actually wanted everything else quite normal. But
Yeah.
what I didn't want is people to avoid it. But you talk about getting through it, and I shouldn't kind of say that I love this part, but when I had the radiotherapy part, so I would have a car pick me up in the morning, take me there. I'd have the session because we did 5 days kind of intense in a row. And afterwards, the car would then, because they waited there, pick me up and took me to the office. And I also remember, was it Shawnee went to me, Marianne, why are you in the office? So I went, well, the car brought me here, so it's fine. And just like, well, let's just get on with things.
Do you know what? I think that's a fair point for everyone as well. It's like you can like, I'm a big fan of using the energy and mental capacity that I've got to dwell on the things that I can impact, and I shut out pretty much everything else. This is one of the reasons why I don't watch the news. I don't, and you can criticize, like, not everybody agrees with that viewpoint. Like, that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own views. My viewpoint is I can only impact what I can impact. And for me to worry about what's going on 300 miles away elsewhere in the world, I can't have any real impact on that. I like to be aware of it, but I waste my time and energy on things that I am immediately in control of and I can do something about. And I find that if you do that, if you've got your to-do list and your to-do list is fully full of things that you can do, well, then you've had a good day. Um, so yeah, my thoughts on that would be just kind of take that in your stride when you're out in your daily routine. Like, try stop worrying about things that you can't impact on. Like, somebody else's opinion is somebody else's opinion. You're not going to really change it by worrying about it. You're going to change it by taking actions that help them see that their opinion might be wrong or outdated or out of context.
So my
Uh,
husband has a saying, worry, 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 dead. Happy, 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 dead. The whole point is that
yeah,
we're all at some time, and it's very sad that we all do die, but we do. So the fact is that if you spend your life worrying about things, all you're going to be is quite sad and have anxiety. And, you know, you do only have one life on this planet. So try and get things through things as happy as possible and focus.
yeah, yeah, that's fair. Um, To rewind a little bit then, so we kind of, last time we spoke, we talked about your career and how you got where you are, and then we talked about some current events. I want to take a slightly different track on this episode, and we haven't got a great deal of time. We've got about another 10 minutes or so. So, let's try and shoot through some quick questions. What's one thing that you wish you'd learned earlier in your career that you know now, but if you'd realised earlier in your career, you could have made more of a success of things?
One thing I know now, um, that I would love to have been an engineer. Yeah, I have a fascination for engineering, buildings, architecture, all of that sort of thing. And it's only as I've gone through the years that I've kind of really kind of thought a lot more about it. And actually, well, you can add in tech into that, because I've always been a kind of had an inner geek inside me and always been quite technical. um, so I think that, knowing the things that I do now, um, I think I probably would have loved to have gone down a more engineering technical avenue. However, I am going to chuck a however in there. Got a feeling that I would be brought back to people in some way, because I might have found it quite lonely, and I do like being surrounded by people. That is my biggest thing that, you know, about contact centers is the noise. I don't like working from home because it's too quiet.
Yeah.
So I
But you
think,
could go
yeah,
away, create a
but I've
call center. You could go and create a call center for
an
engineers.
engineering call
Oh, no, wait,
center.
is that Lemon outsourcing? Have you talked to Martin Anderson?
Well, weirdly, I've done huge amounts of construction outsourcing over the years. So,
Go on to it.
actually, when you look at some of the stuff that we tend to go for, and we'll go for kind of construction stuff, but medical, pharma, the more technical element of things. And I think it's because of the fact of the knowledge and expertise, but also the interest of it's more in depth.
Yeah.
Um, you
So
need to be really quite innovative on some of this stuff.
So the one trait that I tend to see in leaders and founders who are technical oriented and detail oriented is they tend to struggle with micromanagement, like on and delegation is like, do you like, and I'm not saying that you are that kind of leader, but is that something you kind of have internal struggles with in terms of letting go of things and letting other people take ownership of things and not being in the thick of things that you don't need to be?
I don't mind the ownership thing, no, not at all. To be honest, I spend my time wanting to give things away to people.
Mhm.
Um, I think I think it's understanding it from the right angle. Um, I believe very much in situational management, and it's understanding, delegation, but delegation in the right way. I think some people out there mix up delegation with abdication. Um, the one thing about it is if you're a leader, you should be there if you're needed. So
Yeah,
what you don't do is try and control it and try and you'll be doing the stuff. Um, But what you are there is if they need support and help, if they can get on with it, absolutely brilliant, get on with it. But if they need support and help, that you're there for them. And it's the whole point of situational management, direction, guidance, support, and delegation. But it's understanding that. My fault, and I'm happy to put my hand up to this, is sometimes I have got in the detail quite a lot with things. Normally because people ask me to join in, and I get a bit excited about things because from little things can grow out really amazing, innovative things. So,
yeah,
you know, I have a very kind of creative mind that can go from 1 to 20 very, very quickly. Um, and so what people would do. And Michelle used to do it all the time to me, and she was a client delivery director. And I used to sit there and go, "Why have you asked me to come into this meeting?" And I go, "Because you know what to do." And I go, "What do you need to do?" And she'd tell me, and I go, "So why did you want me in?" She said, "Yeah, I know what to do, and that will get us to 10, but I'll say what to do, and then you come up with something that gets us to 11 or 12." She said, "So we just love throwing things off you." So sometimes you have to then kind of go, "No, just get on with it, go."
yeah,
Um, but it's the team thing. If you're not being this hierarchical person, you are just part of a team and actually elevating your people to be even more aspiring and creative themselves. Because if I got it to 11 or 12, I can promise you a couple of more people in that room then got it to 13 or 14. And
yeah.
then you suddenly have got something that is really quite amazing. So it's probably a long-winded way of answering that is that no, I let people get on with it, but people will ask my opinion.
It's a good skill set that you can step in. Yeah. It's a good skill set that you can feel comfortable with stepping away, but you can step in when you needed to. And I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's probably something that I took quite a long time to learn in my career was that I
Yeah.
didn't need to do
It's
everything
it's
myself. I could step away, and the more I learned to do that, ironically, the more I got criticised by my leadership, who didn't step away, who didn't realise that they could step away.
it is the hardest thing in the world, and I also you're very much like me, Paul. You wanna help others,
Yeah,
and the difficulty in challenging the thing would be about that. I will stop whatever I'm doing to always help other people. So
yeah,
at times, it's not micromanaging, because micromanaging is about you sticking your nose in constantly. But if
yeah,
you're being asked for help, that is very, very different. And so, yeah, no, over the years, um, I've learned a lot about that, of when to back off, when to not back off, but really work with people to understand the whole situational part of it is, you know, get on with it. I truly and absolutely believe that, you can go and do it. You're absolutely fantastic, but I'm here if you need me. And I think that is the biggest thing, because I've seen abdication in a number of places. And I think, we talk about micromanagement, then I think bosses should talk about the fact of how they work on abdication a lot. You know, it's about the fact, and I actually heard someone once say, no, just let him get on with it. Give him enough rope. And I went, oh my God. I went, really? And I walked out of the room because I was in so disgust, is the fact of, and I think on the way out, I kind of went, bleep, bleep, bleep. So you want, so give them enough rope and they'll hang themselves. What? Bleep, bleep, bleep. I walked out.
yeah, yeah. I've seen that. I've seen that. Um, well, look,
Right.
fantastic. I mean, we've kind of come to the end of the half-hour session, and hopefully that was a little bit different to the last time we talked, and gets people's creative juices flowing in terms of where we can go with the show. Marianne, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Great chatting with you again, and fantastic to see where Verity Centre are going. Fingers crossed for the short term and mid term future for you.